Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. I'm recording this early on Friday morning, March 29th. And I wanted to give you a heads up about the current astrology and the coming soon astrology. So we are in what's called the eclipse portal. We had our full moon lunar eclipse uh, on last Monday on the 25th, and we will have a new moon solar eclipse on April 8th. But on April 1st, Monday, coming up, just coming up, Monday, April 1st, Mercury will turn retrograde. And Mercury retrograde is a time in the year, happens about 3 times a year, sometimes four, where Mercury appears to be moving backwards in the sky, appears to be retracing his steps. And this is a time, I say appears because the planets don't actually turn around, but because of our relative orbits and speed and from Earth, our perspective here on Earth, it appears that Mercury's retracing his steps in the sky. And astrologically, or the impact that we feel as human beings, or the conversation that the universe is opening up with us, as I believe that the planets are all inviting us into an exploration, a conversation, by the elements, the characteristics and archetypes that each of the planets is expressing through, it can open in us an awareness and a certain type of growth and experience. It's my perspective. And a lot of astrology has that perspective that the planets within us, our unique birth chart, set us up for a lifetime of certain potentials, possibilities, or a roadmap of our life's journey. We have free will, we have choice, we have experiences, relationships, all of that, that also impacts how that plays out. But there is a sort of a template or a blueprint for our soul's journey that's represented in our birth chart. And I find it super helpful to work with mine. I find it super helpful for my clients to have a birth chart reading, to get familiar with this language of astrology, this symbolic, multidimensional language, as a way of reflecting on the parts of themselves that they actually do know, they actually do experience. And astrology and looking at it through the language of the planets and the universe uh, gives us a way of talking about it, a way of understanding it that perhaps we didn't have access to without that language. Um, and taking a look at staying up to date with where are the planets currently in the sky, which we call transits, what's happening in the current universe, and how can I understand and relate to and work with, partner with the planets currently. And that's a lot of what I share with you on these videos is what's happening currently and how might you work with it? What are the opportunities here? What are the questions and invitations from the universe? So during this eclipse portal, we have the collective conversation represented by the nodes of the moon. North node is in Aries, South node is in Libra. And this full moon eclipse we just had was in the sign of Libra. Questions around our relationships. How do we show up in relationships? Where's the balance of how concerned am I with the other or with the harmony or the interaction between us versus how connected and in relationship do I stay with myself and my own desires, perspective, impulse, all of that, and that constant dance and balancing, really, of navigating our relationships. And the full moon eclipse was an invitation to look at, are there patterns in your life, in your experience with relationships with friends and colleagues, loved ones, family, personal significant other, all of them? Are you noticing patterns of relating that perhaps are outdated or are overly conditioned by our culture, society, or family that aren't a true expression of how you want to relate or how you naturally do relate. Um, are you over giving? Are you a people pleaser? Do you suppress your own truth in order to keep the peace? It's time to look at that and choose. And it doesn't mean throw out all compromise or consideration. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean don't be pleasant or kind or considerate. It doesn't mean that at all. But it means refining our sense of self and our sense of self in relationship to others. And it's been a really rich time of exploration in my experience. A lot of things have been coming into my awareness. And with a full moon, that's what happens. Our unconscious awareness, our emotional, intuitive self, represented by the moon, is fully illuminated, and we get to see things that had been hidden in the shadows. And with an eclipse, it's intensified. We get to not only see the full moon, full illumination in that lunar archetype, like the moon in Libra. But as the Earth's shadow crosses over the moon and obscures the moon, then we see it in a really different way. It's like the shadow pieces are shown even more. And that's a gift of a lunar eclipse, is we get to not only see with our conscious mind, but we get to see into the shadow a bit more, and we get to have a reset or a shedding or a release based on what we see there. We are coming up to the third quarter moon later on Monday. And third quarter moon is a time of adjustment. It's a time of adjusting our action based on what was revealed to us during a full moon. And this can be particularly powerful between eclipses. It's that midway point between this lunar eclipse we just had and the solar eclipse that's coming April 8th. And so this time of the third quarter moon is a time of adjustment, a time of like, okay, these things were, I was made aware of these things, and now I want to set myself back on my true course. Okay, that this Aries energy, the sun is in Aries, Mercury's in Aries, the north node of the moon is in Aries, and Chiron, the wounded healer, is in Aries. This is a really powerful time this month and in all of April of really working with healing and strengthening and finding the gifts in the Aries part of us. Now, all of us have Aries energy in our charts, part of the 12 signs of the zodiac, part of the 12 archetypes within. And we're all experiencing it with the sun and Mercury, the node, and Chiron currently moving through. And many of you have planets and points in Aries, and you embody that energy and experience it within yourself even more strongly. I don't have any planets or points in Aries, but I definitely have this part of me. Okay. And this is a time to heal and strengthen our life force energy. Aries is our life force energy. It's our embodied impulse to emerge as ourselves. It's an emergent, initiating energy, an instinctual urge, a go for it energy. And so if you've been feeling like you've been in a hibernation mode or a winter cocoon or still kind of in a COVID cocoon, that kind of thing, this is a time of really calling forth that new chapter, that new vitality, that emerging into some new expression of self. Okay. I've been feeling it like all of those things. I want to talk about the Mercury retrograde because this is a really potent Mercury retrograde. It's a time when Mercury is going to appear to be moving backwards in the sign of Aries from about 27 degrees back to 16 degrees. That's technical astrology. I want to show you the chart of it actually quickly. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to look at where the planets all are for some context. I have been, not doing as much technical teaching like this as I used to. But But I think it might be helpful this time to take a look at the chart. So I've set this chart for the time 3:14 p.m. Pacific time, when Mercury is stationing retrograde. So it's appearing to stand still in the sky at this 27 degrees of Aries point. And it will be moving backwards in Aries from 27 degrees back to about 16, which is right where the nodes of the moon are currently. And during that time, so it has come and it's met with the nodes already, it's met with this with Chiron, and now it's going to come back and meet Chiron again in a reflective time. What have I learned about my wounds? What have I learned about my healing process? Okay. How do I now want to think about my uh, self-doubt or my insecurity in myself? Um, those questions can come up in the next 3 weeks. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong. Okay. A lot of times in our culture that I think, overvalues confidence and taking action and being bold, which are qualities of Aries: boldness, action, self-assertion, right? Is aligned with our very kind of yang American culture. Okay. But when we don't feel that, we often think that there's something wrong with us. All right. And this Mercury retrograde period for 3 weeks is a time to really get curious with yourself in an inward way. Mercury retrograde is a time to reflect, revisit. It's a time of slowing down and recharging, rejuvenating our thinking and our perspectives. And so I really think this is a valuable part of the natural cycle, where when Mercury's direct, we're having new thoughts, new ideas, new communications, and then we get to pause during a Mercury retrograde in a way. Life doesn't stop. Life hardly ever pauses outwardly, but we can pause inwardly with our thinking and have kind of a self-reflection time, and especially in Aries, self-reflection. Okay. And then towards April 25th, when Mercury will be at 16 degrees near the north node of the moon, that's a turning point. It's like the north node of the moon directs us to like that evolutionary direction. We're all being invited by the universe or oriented towards this point of self-determination, of acknowledging our own unique vitality and spark and our desires, that ability to meet the world, to emerge as ourself, with our desires, with our passions, with our sparks and our interests, and like that spark of inspiration. The fire element, the fire signs come with identity, or around identity and passions and inspiration. And Aries is that spark of inspiration, that first like strike of the match, that is emergent from the field of all that is. Aries follows Pisces in the zodiac. And Pisces is that collective consciousness, that intuitive, spiritual, watery realm of emotion. And there's a lot of planetary energy in the sign of Pisces still. We have Mars and Saturn, Venus, and Neptune. The very what do I want to say? It's a very creative and dreamy energy. There's the energy of Saturn of giving us, like taking it seriously, taking our spirituality, our emotional and intuitive, energetic self seriously, having like a devoted practice to tuning in to collective consciousness, whether that's through meditation or prayer or journaling, um, feeling into the energetic connection with another human being or groups of people, but tuning into that, what's in the space between, what's in the unseen. Neptune really helps us tap in intuitively. Venus allows us to receive and appreciate the qualities of energy that we're experiencing. Mars in Pisces helps us take action towards our dreams, our creative inspiration, maybe action towards exploring our beliefs. Um, so this is a time where we really have a lot of focus in this Piscean energy and the Aries energy. And that's going to continue in April, although both Venus and Mars will be moving into Aries. And well, Venus will be on April 3rd. Mars is going to be meeting up with Saturn and having a serious adjustment to our desire nature and our taking action. And Mars is an important figure during Aries season because Mars rules Aries. So the Sun and the Node and Chiron and Mercury are all ruled by Mars and Pisces. And this helps bridge the Pisces and the Aries energies within us, which I think is really important in this eclipse portal, where we started with the full moon here in Libra, which is that balancing and bridging energy. And I think that's a beautiful way to think about bridging the collective consciousness of Pisces and the unique personal spark and energy of Aries. So Pisces is very all that is, all inclusive, spiritual, collective energy. And Aries is very individual, very personal, very your spark of vitality, your unique expression. Each of us, our unique expression. And so this is a great time, I think, to, especially with the retrograde, do some personal reflection. And I know that several of my clients have been reaching out, like, want to check in, haven't had a reading in a while. This is a really great time to either for the first time learn about yourself through your chart or to have a check-in session. How is this eclipse season really working with me? How can I make the most of Mercury retrograde this time around? Okay. So I do offer sessions in half hour, full 90-minute in-depth chart readings. Those are all available. And I'm also offering during this Mercury retrograde period, just during, March 29th today through April 24th, what I'm calling a mini astro coaching package. And that will be 3 half-hour sessions during that 3-week period. And I have several spaces still available. And the advantage of taking a look at your chart in those shorter chunks, but over some time, is it will allow you to we'll look at specifically how is this retrograde affecting you. We'll look at specifically this new moon eclipse, which is going to be exactly working with Chiron. It's a very healing, empowering eclipse. And we can get specific to you, your chart, your life, what's current for you and what's emerging. And having that week in between allows that it allows you to reflect on it and to really put into practice perhaps what came to mind. You join me for that. The mini astro coaching 3 half-hour sessions is just $195. And I invite you to take advantage of that. I think it can be a really powerful way to work with this eclipse energy and the Mercury retrograde. So I wish you a really wonderful Friday and an awareness over the weekend of beginning Monday with the retrograde, with the 3rd quarter moon, time of adjusting and setting our course back towards, what is that new moon intention that started in Pisces of your spiritual connection, your creativity, your healing, and then readying yourself for that April 8th total solar eclipse. It's going to be a really powerful energy, powerful reset, an initiation ceremony really from the universe. Okay, have a great weekend or whenever you're listening to this. And please do reach out and get in touch if having a session, a one-time session with me of any length, 30, 60, 90 minutes, or the three session short-term astro coaching. Let me know if that would serve, and I'd be happy to partner with you in understanding your universe within and the messages and invitations from the universe out there. Take care, friends. Bye.